Hello, my name is SJ and I am a writer, a theatre maker and currently co-artistic director of By Jove Theatre Company. My first piece for Camberwell Arts Festival is Electra Reflects. It is a short film combined with a contemporary text for the character of Electra, who stems from the Greek myth and surrounding myths of the Oresteia and their cycles of violence. She awaits the return of her brother Orestes, who is hoping to avenge their father, who was murdered by their mother upon his return. Electra is treated with disdain, has a lot of abuse throughout her life, and here she vocalises some of her queerness, thoughts about her gender equality and her place within the fabric of her family.
Late afternoon, a winter sun showers me with the last of its love. My head is laid back, my eyes are unfocused. I see myself moving swiftly through shards of light, indistinct but bright, movement with purpose. In and out of focus, I let go of any conscious thought or expectation, an energetic pressure on my head firmly pushing back my neck. I could shed my body to be just like you, shedding like a snake, skin that leaves my soul free to run. If I were you, I wouldn't be me. I wouldn't have to spend my life trying to match my brother in flight in the eyes of my royal family name and birthright. It seems a daughter's work is never done. I purposefully engrave callus on my hands and have bruised my fingers enough to swell. I've shaved my head. When she realised, she set fire to my hair and burnt the frame of my bed. If I could, I would cut out my womb, I tell her. She says, don't waste your energy. I clench my stomach muscles and make sure I sit with my legs apart. My counsellor told me I might need to find other ways of gaining respect in my life. Sometimes I think I only know who I am when my eyes slide out of focus and a shape of me runs through the shaft of light. Content, agile, a shadow of your light, a neutral movement where no one can see what I am, only guess what I might be. Even if our places were switched and I got to grow up far away from this house, you remained here, having to live with them, I bet it would have been easier for you. Even if I had the space and time, allowed my own personal growth distance from this place and this fucking family, even then I bet no one would care. Just greeted with the same disdain I get now. Oh great, she's here, big fucking deal. I could have come home with an ally. I could have a friend who didn't want to leave my side. We have the same cheekbones, similar jawlines, dark, deep-set eyes, except mine are tired. I could run the same track as you, as any of them. I could strap myself in, only allow strength to run through my veins, oversexed, oversized high doses of probiotic protein shake, impressing people with the ultimate power of my thighs. I could push myself to the very limit, push myself so hard that I break through the skin and who I am will erupt from beneath, until everything is gone. No discernible characteristics to signify what or who I am. Just those deep-set eyes set off by subtle bumps you could trace with the tips of your fingers across the shape of my skull. My blood, my heart, my bones, and me. Caress these colossal crates, grooves and tender-rounded edges of my head. I wanted to see what was underneath. I needed to know what was left, once the swing of curls and dainty pointed ends of my hair were gone. What were they hiding? What were they trying to protect? You're more feminine than me anyway, the curve of your neck, so slender yet such strength. Strength you're allowed to show, though, isn't it? It's all yours, so when it comes to me there isn't much left. Whose eye is it for? A shade of colour, she pinches my cheeks. To create some kind of depth, she said. For who? Whose gaze? What actual difference does it make? My counsellor also said they think I have blurred the lines between who I am and who Orestes is. They say I am projecting a persona onto him, and I have to understand that he might not be how I have painted him. I want him. I want what he has. I want to be him. I want what he is allowed to have. We are the same. Deep-set eyes. I am his twin. Just maybe in disguise. It had to be for you, though, didn't it? You get the space, the speed, the strength, the hole you made in the heart of your mother because her son is gone and she wishes I was dead. I like it when I am in the bath, in the semi-dark. The water is still and the edges of my limbs are exposed, like I am not fully formed, but could disappear beneath the water and emerge rebirth, reformed in a different way. I feel sick when I'm dressed, because I hate what it represents. I don't understand. Why can't I just be normal? Why can't I join in with the rest, playing games, running, shouting, laughing, at ease, fearless? Why am I never content? I could not care, she says. I could get on with my life, become somebody's wife. What a joke. I am nothing. I am no body. I am only fire. I have no subtle tones. All I know is this is not where I am. These should not be my bones. I am trapped. But who cares? I am only here to wait for you to come home.
By Jove Theatre tell old stories and myths in new ways for a contemporary audience. And the Oresteia was the first myth we tackled actually 10 years ago, where I played the role of Electra, but I hadn't written for her yet. And 10 years later, we have revisited these characters and the myths surrounding them and tried to bring new stories for them to life through a queer gaze. And so this piece actually was part of a bigger installation, a digital installation called The Gentlest Work, which resulted in years of research and development and writing and performing, just trying to find a way to tell the story. So that is where the digital aspect came from for this. It was originally created for a digital installation for The Gentlest Work for By Jove, which was birthed from academic research of Nancy Rabinowitz. It was a creative response to our queer gaze of the Oresteia. And with Electra, I performed the role of Electra 10 years ago with By Jove. And then now I've revisited her. She's a tough person to to carry with you, but I feel like we are both different people now. I've come back to see her again at 10 years, well, for the last 3 years actually, but I feel like we have both moved into a different realm together, and I wanted to express that. A move away from the kind of the rage and the rawness which she is so often just left with, and I needed to give her something else to think about, something else to talk about. And the more I thought about it, and the more we went through our process as a company, I found the concept of her non-binary thoughts really intriguing. And actually she then, for me, became a shadow, like the poem talks about. And actually she spends all her life waiting for her brother to return, obsessively. And I just really wanted to give her something else to do, something else to think about. It never really ends well for Electra, no matter what kind of path you decide to go down, unfortunately. But that was one of the points of the whole of the gentlest work, was to not just perform adaptations of the cycles of violence continually. It was to gently look at the trauma and look at other parts of the characters' lives, look at other beings, other endings. So when you go into the show, you know, it's like a map. And if you don't like a particular ending, you can go back to another one. The finished piece for me, actually, the joy came for me from being able to use film, so I could really play with this layering and this question of the role of the son, the role of the daughter, and, you know, what's kind of beyond those expectations, beyond binary, beyond, you know, beyond, and kind of allow the viewer to go into a world where she is talking, you know, an internal monologue, but she's voicing things in a very poetic way. And just trying to find her way with no restrictions. And I felt like by using film to accompany my writing, I felt like it released restrictions for me, and I found that really, really wonderful and so fun, frustrating, and so beautiful at times. And I'm so pleased with it, because everything I wanted to get across, visually and verbally, I managed to kind of do it, and it, for me, feels so much richer than just watching something on the stage. Sorry, I'm laughing because when you watch the film, you'll see it's just mainly bedrooms. Actually, I will say the when you in the gentlest work, there were 4 films which were directed and made by a wonderful person called Manon, and we had, so these kind of bodies were in this sleep loop, which came from a concept of mine, that I wanted to have the 3 siblings and Pylades, who's the friend, or Orestes' boyfriend, and I wanted to have these 4 characters in similar scenarios. So they all kind of have a routine, on a time-lapse routine, when they're just in a loop of not being able to sleep, of, you know, being off the bed, on the bed. And it kind of allows the viewer to see that no matter where they go for endings within the installation, the characters are still stuck in this never-ending loop, basically. And there's nothing forceful or violent or anything like that about it. It's just silent film. But I think it says so much. So I was really lucky to be able to use those films within excuse me, within Electra Reflects, as you'll see. That was really good. And it also meant that I could work with 5 different artists at the same time, and then celebrate the footage which they had also created for the project. Also, I was in one of those, and I got very bruised. You'll see when I fall off the bed. Actually, I have 2 favourite elements. One is the slow blink at the beginning and the end. I just became obsessed about that. It was actually a happy accident, but so much interesting art is happy accident, so I was quite pleased. My second favourite element is there's one part where all 4 of the siblings appear in various places on the screen, and just seeing them all together in each of their kind of gentle turmoil. I really like that bit. That was definitely one of my favourites. well, actually, just By Jove was birthed from wanting to do our own adaptations and give mythology new voices and let it speak to a new audience. And as the years have gone on, nothing has changed about that. And if anything, the work has just become more important and richer, and the stories are so often so relatable, or like finding how to make them relatable, well, not even make them, just craft them in a way that just teaches you something. It's just so rewarding. It has absolutely influenced my other work, because when I started writing much more poetry, I then wrote a one-woman show, which was an epic poem called Here She Comes, that was performed by me and Vivian Yule, who wrote original music for it and performed it, and it was about 50 minutes long. It was based on the story of the Bacchae, but it was from Agave's point of view, who is in the play of the Bacchae. You hear about her. She's the mother of the protagonist, although she is really the protagonist. And you don't meet her until the end, and then she chops off her son's head, and everyone's like, you're awful, la la la, and even then she's played by a man, and I was like, no, I don't think so. So I wrote a new piece from her point of view, about motherhood, about womanhood, about freedom, about ideology, and it was so fun, and it's the most fun to perform. I just get to, do my thing for 50 minutes, and the music and text entwined is so rich. And so, it has affected a lot of my work, actually. I'm writing a book at the moment, and even then, a lot of that myth is coming from Celtic myth. But there's just something about the stories. They're just so alive, and I love allowing them to re-emerge, to be alive for everyone in my own day and age. That's a good question, actually. Trixie. Working with family is always can be really tough, because the concept of family means something so different to so many, especially in the queer community. The kind of concept of your family doesn't necessarily have to be blood relatives. It can be your chosen family, whoever, wherever you feel comfortable and safe. But obviously, those things come with a lot of, it's just human nature, isn't it? It comes with a lot of pain sometimes, and a lot of anguish. But it was interesting, because I feel like I relate to Electra on a level where, as a woman, I have often felt, that things probably would be different for me, or I would be treated differently in certain scenarios if I were a boy or a man, or the son. And so I think a lot of kind of that sibling rivalry through sex and gender as well, and what they're allowed to have, and how quickly they're kind of like forgiven, or how much they're allowed to be in more pain than you, because when it's you, it's conceived as whining or crying, and you just kind of need to like shut up and get over it. I'm not saying that's how my family treat me, but so I think, but that's kind of like a healthy a healthy like rivalry, and the parent thing, she, Electra, her mother murders her father, and then but I should say, if you don't already know, because her mother was avenging her sister's death, so the father, Agamemnon, sacrificed their firstborn, which Electra kind of conveniently doesn't really talk about very much. So I think also there's like a weird sister thing where she comes back later because she didn't really die because she was maybe a deer, and you know it goes on and on and on. But for this purpose, yeah, I felt right there with her talking about that. So yeah, that was hard. My second piece for Camberwell Arts Festival is called When We Were Young. It is a short film with original music about female closeness, about queer joy, about family, memory, and yeah, the smaller, the quiet times, which you get lost sometimes in life throughout the action, and I wanted to show that specifically with women on film.
B.
The music in When We Were Young is called Heartbeat, which was written by, well, the music was composed by Gemma Stall and Laura Reed, who worked with us on the Gentlest work, and Gemma was a musician in the room in a week of research and development for the or we used to call it the Orestes development. So yeah, she was in the room there, and I wrote a poem called Heartbeat for that, and that's so it's a nice link to where we were at previously with the piece of work and where we ended. It is so important. Honestly, it became more important than I think I had anticipated. And even if we did a stage show of the Gentlest work, or we toured the exhibition, or you know, whatever happens next, if it had been a big theatrical part, I feel like I would now definitely insist on having you know, the kind of space where the audience can have a look around and watch some of like the short films and read some kind of like research and development text or anything kind of work in progress. I mean, I love that kind of stuff when I go and see shows, theatre or art gallery or, you know, film or anything. I know I love that kind of stuff when I go and see shows. So yeah, and I feel like it pinpoints something which is so difficult to vocalize and so difficult to show on stage when it's not kind of in a film format. Yeah, and the music is so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I cried a lot. The first time I heard it, it was an absolute mess. But that's also because in the first R&D that we did in July 2019, I think, forgive me if I'm wrong, and it was like the hottest week on earth, and we've been working so hard all week, and we always have musicians live with us when we make theatre. And so we had 3 musicians in the corner with a lot of like movement, and we were running through this piece, and the song which they were working on had stemmed from the Heartbeat poem which I'd written, which is just about bringing everything back to the very basic of your body's life. It's the heartbeats I am after. And the music just like was like swelling, and it was just so beautiful, and all of us in the room were just an absolute mess. That was it was tough, but it was so beautiful, and that stays with us forever. And I think when I heard the music again for the film, it just brought me right back there. Oh yeah, I mean, working with loved ones is the same. I feel that way about working with musicians and working with the people that I make theatre with, who are all my loved ones. It's so overwhelming, or it can be so overwhelming, and just it's so rich. It just adds like another layer when you have a creative relationship with like like that with the people that you work with. I think it was quite disarming filming as ourselves as creatives, and then when I was editing, it did make me quite emotional just to see ourselves on the camera, just, you know, happy, and just really quite vulnerable actually. And I'm really pleased that they trusted me enough to create it, and I feel like I got the message across. Yeah, I mean, I love it. So lockdown, yeah, it was really strange. The first show that we did was a live stream one, and it's kind of like you didn't just have to be an actor performing to a camera. You had to do like your own costume and your lighting, and have also, because we had 3 people play one character in our version of Medea, written by Wendy Haynes. We had to have a live script on the screen at the same time, in case someone's signal or for their Wi-Fi or whatever reason went out, and another one of us would have to take over their lines and whatnot. But I think we did okay. It was really strange. I'd built myself up so much that as if I was going to go on stage, because that's what I'm used to doing. And then I was just staring at the screen, and then a little green light came on, and then suddenly you're live, and I was like, oh, it's so weird because nothing else has happened. Like, it's still just me. So that was really strange, and I really missed. I just missed having an audience so much. The second project was when I recorded "Here She Comes" at home. That was that was really fun, and I'm so glad I did it. I really want to do it again in a bigger studio with an orchestra, but that's kind of a little bit down the line. Reflections, I'm just glad actually that I could put both pieces in to the arts festival, because when I heard that the theme was Inside Out, I just thought, oh yeah, that's how I feel about what I was trying to say by creating these two films. I wanted to show and hear what was on the inside, which just all leads me back to that first Heartbeat poem, and allowing those kind of things to be brought forward.
All my life I have dreamt of the whole world stopping for a moment. This childhood dream where everything else but them would come to a standstill.
And then, poof.
Now that I have it here, I don't know how to react to it.
In March 2020, we experienced what felt like a power outage, and we were alone. I had no idea if anyone would respond to these questions from a stranger, let alone share their darkest fears. But these are their stories.
A veces tengo la sensación de estar en una película de ciencia ficción y no me gusta para nada ese género.
Mi nombre es Andrés. Soy español, tengo 60 años. Bueno, la situación que estamos viviendo me hace sentir bastante miedo e inseguridad.
Passo le giornate a guardare I tramonti ed è l'unica cosa che mi fa star bene in questo periodo difficile. Ci sentiamo tutti più fragili, ci sentiamo tutti come un'aquila in una gabbia che sogna di volare verso la libertà.
A minha sensação é de estar numa caixa branca sem nada dentro, só eu, sozinho. Até as memórias mais antigas aqui dentro parecem estranhas assim.
Only in my dreams I become myself. I feel free.
It's morning. I blink and it's night.
Bilo je dana gdje sam ustajala da bih se ubrzo nakon vratila u krevet.
Mi sento sospeso, quasi incapace di prendere decisioni.
Mi sento compresso, rinchiuso in una scatola, al buio da solo, incatenato al mio subconscio. Sento il desiderio di evadere da queste mura, ma anche da me stesso, e provo a soffocare questo desiderio. Non voglio odiare me stesso, io voglio essere libero.
I move, I don't move, it doesn't matter. Time stands still.
The calendar fades and nothing is permanent.
I miss my freedom. My freedom to go out and breathe the air.
All the different scents, everything out there, you know.
Lo que más echo de menos es la libertad.
Caixa que tem uma porta. Dá pra ver a porta. Uma porta que, inclusive, tá aberta, mas que a gente não pode atravessar.
Poder abrir la puerta y poder salir sin tenerte que plantear si puedes o no. Y también el ver a las personas que quiero.
I miss strangers. I miss just walking down the street and being alone, but just walking amongst a bunch of strangers.
The idea of going outside without thinking that I'm doing something wrong.
I write motorbike everywhere. Very common here in Indonesia. Every time I get back, my sister would say, "You smell like sun and traffic jam." And I'm not anymore. And I hate the heat and traffic. But I want them back now.
I never want to be inside ever again.
Every day when I go to my studio, there's this one road where I can see the sea. It's just there glistening. When I can leave, I want to run to the sea.
All the way down the sand, run till the sea.
Dive in and just feel the ocean around me.
I miss the customers that were rude.
Because seeing those people would feel like I'm free again.
I miss expressing love through touching.
Being able to pass around plates, pick up a napkin without worrying about what it might have.
I would love to go see a band.
Party and scream and sweat.
I would love to be in the first line.
Kiss each other and hug each other and lift each other.
And just dance with a bunch of random people.
And move our bones like...
Extraño el sentimiento de ir al cine, sentarte y que una película te coma la cabeza.
Well, I'm not doing any sports. Never was a sports people. Not one of those that started just because of this.
You have to focus on who you are as a person, and if you're not ready for that, you can lose yourself in those thoughts.
What scares you the most? This is the question our reflections ask us when we look in the mirror. This just hits you because all our fears have just taken form, and that is what we're trying to do, distracting ourselves from looking at them in the eye, because we know we cannot fall prey to them.
I'm struggling a lot. I never was the person for big feelings.
I feel at peace, and I feel like punching down 50 different walls next to me. I just feel longing for normalcy, hearing how the city sounds on a normal day, as if nothing happened.
There are some days when it just feels so dark. There's no point in anything. Breathing, eating. Why are you sleeping?
The unknown and the lack of control. I live with bipolar disorder, and I've been dealing with pretty heavy depression.
And I know that all the catastrophic scenarios that are going on in my head are just that, scenarios. But I'm having a hard time communicating that to the rest of my body.
My dad and my cousin both have tested positive. My cousin has chronic lung issues. He was in a single cell with 52 other inmates, and they barely had room to move. They knew that at least one person in that cell had tested positive.
When you are shown a real possibility of not seeing somebody again.
E non ci sono parole per descrivere quello che ti succede dentro come amica, e non ci sono parole che possano rendere giustizia al momento che lei sta vivendo, perché tu non l'hai mai vissuto. L'unica cosa che puoi fare è dare un abbraccio.
My grandmother was an amazing woman. I felt like it was super unfair that she had to die in those circumstances, and the fact that we can't have a funeral or a memorial.
I think it's really important to remember the people we missed, because usually those are people that you don't tell that you love them enough. That's what I think we should remember.
I want to forget the loneliness. We get closer through digital screens.
It's important that we reconnect to the real world after.
We say, I miss you, but you run out of ways to say it.
This craving of connection.
I think I'm actually talking to people more now than I was before all of this happened.
We talk with a memory of what we used to be.
I'm sure so many people are meeting their neighbors for the first time. I don't think we should forget that we're not alone.
The house right opposite to me has a boy my age who used to be really mean to me when we were kids. And now every day in the evening at about 6 p.m., he plays different pieces on his piano and it's beautiful.
Un día de golpe, como la vecina de arriba se ponía a hablar con el vecino del edificio de al lado, así casualmente, empezará a hablar horas y horas de balcón a balcón, hasta que un día escuchamos que pues el chico invitaba a la chica a su edificio, cosa pues completamente ilegal dentro del confinamiento, pero aún así pues la chica le hizo una visita. Y hoy en día pues ya están en relación, o sea, van de la casa de uno al otro y están en pareja y hasta están saliendo a hacer la compra juntos. Una historia de amor.
Durante esta cuarentena fui madre por primera vez, que es lo más raro de toda esta cuarentena, vivir el final del embarazo y el nacimiento de mi primera hija solamente con mi pareja.
There's so many simple things that bring happiness.
Listening to my dad singing every morning while he's watering the plants.
Me gustaría recordar el silencio.
Tot és diferent, és com una altra cara de la vida, no?
La vida lenta también. Podemos elegir no hacer nada.
I want to forget how I used to chase the idea of happiness can only be found in spectacular or grandeur things.
Creo que el mundo ha vuelto a respirar.
I think being in this kind of quarantine vacuum, you kind of follow the influences and ideas of others less. And it's given me a bit more time to be myself.
I want to be happy in the mundane. And I know I can be happy in the mundane because I am.
Been living out of a suitcase for the past 7 weeks, just the same clothes, same everything. You just don't need stuff in your life. Just kind of leave room for yourself.
I am learning I can cook. I didn't know I could cook.
So I think people realize that they are good enough as they are. Everyone's perfect as they are.
I feel that we can't live the way we were living.
Modern life is too busy.
You know, with this raging capitalism.
Que lo importante no es siempre tener que estar trabajando tantas horas.
We try to fulfill too many roles at the same time. Using that effect, you become calmer and take a step back from who you were before.
I want to remember that what we have is typically more than enough.
The way 9 a.m. sunlight makes its way into my room and creates this mystical shadows. You see, in normal days, I wake up very early and leave to work by 8. I've never thought 9 a.m. sunlight would be different.
Maybe this time is about evolution. Maybe change is okay.
Lo que me mantiene más fuerte son mis sueños. Hacer cine, contar y realizar mis historias.
I will no longer be afraid to take risks and give a chance to my passion, because now I have experienced what it means when your plans don't go as per what you had decided.
Ho trovato un lavoro notturno in una fabbrica, insomma un lavoro duro, mi permetterà di andare avanti. E mi sembra come se l'universo mi stesse parlando, mi stesse incoraggiando a dare sempre il mio meglio, ed è assolutamente quello che farò.
I am going to start from the scratch. I am going to build my castle brick by brick, bricks of hope, faith, strength, and I'm not going to think about the waves that are ebbing and flowing and taking parts of my castle away with them.
But I don't know if the human being is capable of learning in such a fast pace.
I think that we will remember this moment, but not learn from it.
My story doesn't end here. My presence on this earth is still needed, and that I've come so far.
That I'm going to wake up to a better world. I don't care if the world wants to change. I want to change after this, and if I feel it, everybody feels it.
This moment in time is a time of self-reflection, of appreciation, and inner work to prepare for the next leg of my journey.
A única coisa que tem na parede é um espelho. Eu acho que esse espelho ficou para mostrar uma coisa, a única coisa que sobra quando algo assim acontece no mundo. A gente. Só a gente, um rosto, a expressão que reflete, me parece sempre aquela mesma pergunta. O que importa nisso tudo, afinal? Isso que sempre foi o mais importante, acho que a gente deixou de ver um pouco.
Something has changed in me. Something that I've been aware of before, but never really had the strength to change because I never felt a real necessity.
This is maybe the world's biggest social experiment.
The world's changed as we know it.
And this is a perfect opportunity. So why would we ever go back? We have to progress into something better.
There must be a lot of people like me, who think like me. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to change. I'm not going to let this fire die in me that wants to light up the dark places. And then I'm not scared anymore. No.
Come sta nesse tempo novo?
Un po' la mia vita prima della quarantena, in alcuni aspetti era già in quarantena. Era già in quarantena. Era lì ad aspettare di uscire. Adesso devo capire se voglio meritarmi di uscire.
Que parte de mim deve passar pela porta e lá fora? E que parte de mim eu devo deixar aqui para trás?
No deberíamos olvidarnos de cómo ser humanos. Es irónico porque supuestamente lo éramos, pero creo que lo habíamos olvidado durante todos los años de existencia hasta el día de hoy. Tenemos que otra vez aprender a hacerlos. Y creo que la cuarentena y la pandemia nos ha ayudado a darnos cuenta de eso. Que habíamos perdido muchos valores, muchas cosas fundamentales de la esencia de ser un humano.
The first person that I'll meet, I'll hug the hell out of that person. And I'm very excited for that day to come. Yes.
Pero sé que cuando las vuelva a encontrar va a ser también muy nostálgico y sanador de cierta manera. No sé si este audio te ayude mucho, pero espero que tú estés bien. Cuídense bastante, porque todo va a estar bien al final.
My name is Elena, and I'm from Athens, Greece.
My name is
Tonga Sindama.
Connor Addison.
My name is Talia.
Dennis Liana.
Diana.
This is
Lucia.
Anna.
Lily.
Although people usually call me friend. My name is Nafisat Misria. My name is Lilo. My name is Nereis. Chanel Bentley.
Mi nombre es Paula Amenta.
Dylan Johnston. I live in Brooklyn, New York.
Canary Islands, Spain.
Marta. Elena J.N.
Prakriti Khajuria.
Fulvia.
My name is Manla Baraka.
My name is Morgan Nicola Wren.
Me llamo Valeria.
Mi nombre es Valeria.
Elizabeth.
I'm Vittoria Rizzardi Peñalosa.
Camilla Guindalina.
My name is Stephanie.
Bruno.
Arianna.
Deborah. Julia. Grace Halverson.
My name is Savannah Small.
My name is Jack Colquitt.
Lally Coombs, and I'm from the UK.
Sangeeta Bhorali.
Mi chiamo Irene.
Mariana Lacalandra.
Meu nome é João Marques.
Becca, and I'm from Spain.
And I live in Mexico City.
India.
My name is Shruti, and I'm from Mumbai, India.
Vivo en Perú, en la capital de Lima.
Nací en Argentina, pero actualmente vivo en Barcelona, España.
I'm from Indonesia.
Angola.
I'm Italian, but I was based in Los Angeles.
Mexico.
From the United States.
Argentina.
My name is Sophia.
My name is Dana.
I was born in Zambia, but I've been living in Perth.
Nilanjana.
Em dic Carla, soc de Barcelona i estic confinada a un poble.
Mi chiamo Roberta Borgonovo, sono italiana.
Mi chiamo Ludovica.
Federica. Muscan.
Me llamo Alba.
Hatsuko Cárdenas.
Connor Addison.
Italia. Bolivia. Roma.
Hi, I'm Tobias James and I'm a filmmaker.
I'm Derek Mann, I'm a designer and artist. About exactly a year ago we started the project because we were bored about being in lockdown and we wanted to express that feeling through film.
The concept was quite straightforward. It was just a split screen of stuff we could do or had to do in the lockdown, and matching that with things that we might rather be doing, and using things like match cuts to kind of blend these different clips together. So it's sort of like a juxtaposed image that represents life inside lockdown and outside lockdown.
It just started out as one of those things that was like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to make something, and we just did some test shots. I remember the first one was like ice cream and the dog excrement.
So I mean, it was just kind of a joke. I think we were playing around and I kind of thought maybe we could, if we can get, how many of these can we get? Because it's like, it started off matching different stock footages. So like it would be like a shot of a stock dog with stock ice cream, and we were like, that's fine. It's been done before. Like the split screen thing isn't necessarily like a completely original idea. It's been done before, but I think the concept that we had made this iteration of that original.
It was almost like a necessity, isn't it? How can you film the outside without filming the outside?
Yeah, we can't go outside. But then it's kind of evolved, and the concept was like, okay, maybe we pair it with footage that we shoot on, and it was just all the inside stuff that you see was just shot on our iPhones. We wanted to make it very kind of, homemade compared to like quite polished, that like weirdly over polished stock look. I think there's just something quite charming about it. So we were just like on Zoom, on Slack or whatever, basically every day trying to make these things work. And it was just like we would like trawl through the stock footage libraries and like find something that might work, whether it was like a geometric shape in something or camera movement or things moving in the frame that we could match. And then it was a case of like, can we split this one way? Can we split it 2, 3, 4? I think the biggest split we have is 9.
In a way, it's a bit of a back and forth of like making. Each of us was making one half the puzzle for the other one to fill in. Like we'll have like half-baked, half-finished idea and throw it across, and then the other person would then, oh, what about this? And then sometimes it will turn out that the second idea actually then inspire different things. So it wasn't like all pre-planned and sort of like meditation.
Yeah, that's true. And also, I think like most of them didn't work. Like I think the amount that we had done that we just like we got so close. There's just something that was just not quite right. So it's just we had to bin it. And that was tough. But the editing process was just like really, really, really time intensive.
And knowing where to stop, because there's no. I mean, lockdown didn't nail the process, didn't it?
Yeah.
Do you have one that really that you remember immediately that sticks out in your mind?
I mean, for me, I think the first one that we got that we really cracked it was an egg and a basketball. I think it's just visually it's strong. The motion of the basketball going to the hoop and then it turns into an egg. I like it. I think it's like sports is quite a big thing for a lot of people. And I like how just turning it into a cracked egg just kind of trivializes it. It's kind of a joke. It's a good mix of something that's something that's on a very grand scale, professional sports is just cracking an egg at home. I think I'm a fan of that.
It's a good poster image as well. It kind of explains the whole concept without having to go too far into it.
Yeah, and I think it's important as well that we had that thing of the concept of having the two shots match up, but I think it's quite important that we then kind of get away from it so it evolves later on and we find different ways to sort of play with that motif. So it's not always just two things that match relatively well. It's we can start to play with. Is it just things side by side that are just moving in the same direction? Is it? I was going to say it's.
Once it gains momentum,
this
then
is
it
how
becomes
the project works. We just finish each other's sentences.
Yeah, once it gains momentum, it becomes an excuse to play, and it becomes a kind of format that how can we do the same thing but do it differently? It wasn't,
How do you navigate that at a distance? Because obviously you weren't together. What was that like? You were Zoom calling.
Badly.
What was that process? Because I had a project similar, where I was working on Zoom. So what was that process for you?
It was Slack and Zoom. It was just we would just talk on Zoom. We would send each other clips. We'd send each other films. We'd send each other clips we filmed on Slack of does this shot work? And it'd be no, change it, do it from a different angle or something, change something about it, and then we would sort of, slowly refine it.
I remember there being a lot of me frantically sketching something onto post-it notes and then holding it right up to camera and saying, do you know what I mean? They'll be like this, and then trying to do a stop motion frame by frame of a poster, and then we go like that, and then like that, and then like a lot of gesturing, a lot of bad sketches.
We got there. I think how many did we get? Yeah, 9, 10. Don't know. But yeah, I'm proud of it for what it is. Just like something to just like keep mentally fit in that sort of way, you know, in that sort of space. Yeah, it was nice.
The film originated from lockdown 1. It felt like a good time to actually, now that things are opening up, it felt like a good time to actually extend it and give it a proper ending, as it were, because the original film was never really finished, because by the time we did the edit, lockdown was still going on and didn't feel like there was an end. So I think it just feels like a good, hopeful, better ending.
Yeah. I think what's kind of nice is with things opening up, it seems like a natural kind of closing to the film is to replace the stock footage of the things we couldn't film because of lockdown, and actually take the cameras out and go and see people like re-emerging and being outside and socialising and doing all those things they couldn't do. So we're kind of replacing the stock element. So it's now all kind of like organic footage that we've captured, and we've done that in and around Camberwell. I think our hit rate on this will be, if we're lucky, 50% of the shots we've got are usable. We're lucky now that we have a bit more control because we're shooting both elements now for this like emergence, this like final section where everybody's coming out of lockdown. So we have more control, but I don't know how much that's actually.
I would say, it's always going to be difficult. It's always going to be more difficult to mix sort of footage from the real world compared to just using stock and then filming the other end of the puzzle. I think because whatever we plan, even from shooting today, whatever we plan, don't always turn out the way we want it to be. As you show up to a new spot, it's kind of like you have this idea in your head and you show up and something's not right, the light's not there, people sitting where you don't want them to sit and so on, so you have to work around them. So it's going to be a lot more of...
Well, it's very documentary style, this second section. In Camberwell, it's been us turning up to, whether it's the park, the street, whatever the pub, whatever we can find, and it's kind of quite passive because you can't control the environment or the situation you're in. You can to some extent. Like earlier, we were asking these guys playing ping pong at the park over there, like, could we film you playing ping pong? But you can't really direct them, and you don't really have much control. You just have to sort of get the framing of something you think could match with something else later, hit record, and just kind of hope for the best.
It's more collaborative, whether we want it to be or not.